Welcome to the Wheel of History. This week's episode will be over acts of 1800s. Let's introduce this week's contestants. Contestant 1, tell us about yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm Charles Darwin. I've came up with some of the most famous theories in history and wrote many books about them. I'm excited today and hopefully I can learn some new things and some cash.
Thank you, Mr. Darwin. Next we have Sojourner Truth. Let's hear about you.
Yes, I'm Sojourner Truth, and I'm an African-American abolitionist and women's rights activist. I was born into slavery, but later escaped with my daughter. I'm here today to make a name for women and African-American people everywhere.
Thank you, Miss Truth. And finally, we have Mrs. Clara Barton. Would you please give us some background on you, Mrs. Barton?
Yes, ma'am. Well, my name is Clara Barton. I'm the founder of the American Red Cross. I've dedicated my life to helping others, such as bringing supplies to soldiers in battle. I'm also one of the first women ever to teach at a school. I'm here today to show everyone that women are just as smart as men.
Thank you, Mrs. Barton. Now that we've introduced all of our contestants, we'll go ahead and start our first puzzle. First up, Mr. Darwin. You've landed on Homestead Act Social. We're going to show you a video to help you solve the question. The Homestead Act of 1862 gave individuals from the United States and around the world the opportunity to claim free government land that originally belonged to the Indians. During the homesteading era, tens of thousands of people claimed and settled more than 270 million acres. The question is, who did the land belong to before Americans moved on to it? So what's your final answer, Mr. Darwin?
I'm going to go with Indians.
That is correct. Next up, we have Sojourner Truth. You landed on Dawes Act Economic.
Before the Dawes Act was passed, the Native Americans were allowed to let their cattle roam free across the West. After the act was passed, the cows became fenced in as well, with a certain amount of acreage. Due to the cows being fenced in, they now had limited what?
So your final answer is?
Space?
That is incorrect. The correct answer was resources. They had limited resources. You landed on Dawes Act Social.
The Dawes Act, also known as the General Allotment Act, was adopted by Congress in 1887. This authorized the President of the United States to survey American tribal land and divide it into allotments for individual Indians and their families. Since the Indians were in a way separated from the rest of their tribe, they became more independent and acted more like what?
So your final answer is?
I'm gonna go with monkeys.
Sorry, that's incorrect. The correct answer is citizens. So back around we have contestant 1, Mr. Darwin. You landed on Dawes Act Political.
The Homestead Act was passed in 1862. You've already heard some information about it and know its purpose. The Dawes Act was kind of like a follow-up act. Its purpose was not only to make the Native Americans more like citizens, but also to help the who by providing more available land in the West for them.
My final answer is homesteaders.
That is correct. Back around we have Sojourner Truth. You landed on Southern Homestead Act Political.
I'm going to tell you some background information about the Southern Homestead Act.
Really?
The passage of the 1866 Southern Homestead allowed ex-Confederates, former slaves, and other citizens to homestead in 5 public land states that had formerly been part of the Confederate States of America, which was Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Louisiana, and Mississippi. The act also prevented the further sale of these lands, principally to timber interests, so as to allow homesteaders a preference. And then the political question, or the political information, the government allowed the South to basically restart, and the government wanted to populate the West with whites. What did the government let the South do after this act?
And your final answer is?
Couldn't they colonize?
That is correct.
Leg kick.
Back around you have Mrs. Clara Barton. You landed on Southern Homestead Act Social.
After the act was passed, something happened to their social what?
And your final answer is?
Popularity. Duh.
That is incorrect. The correct answer is position. The third time we have Mr. Darwin. You landed on Homestead Act Political. The rules. You have to be the head of the household or at least 21 years old. 2, you got 160 acres of land. 3, you had to live on the land, build a home, make improvements, and farm for 5 years. The question is, what were the 3 requirements to live on the land permanently? What is your final answer, Mr. Darwin?
You have to build a house, live there for 5 years, and raise pet monkeys.
That is incorrect. The first 2 answers were correct, but the third one is farm or ranch. Sorry, dude. For the third time back, we have Sojourner Truth. You landed on Homestead Act Economic. The filing process. You had to file intentions at the closest land office. The filing fee was $10 to temporarily claim the land, and you had to pay $2 commission to the land agent. Then return to the new land and you began building a home. You started farming for 5 years. After that, the filer had to find 2 neighbors or friends to vouch for their truth about the land's improvements. And then, after the completion of that, you had to pay $6 total. What was the total filing fee after you received the land? And your final answer is?
$18.
That is correct. Lastly, we have Mrs. Clara Barton. You landed on Southern Homestead Act Economic. Okay, we're already ready because we know.
With this act lowering land prices for the Southerners, what was expanded?
And your final answer is?
Care shopping because I care for the economy.
Sorry, that's incorrect. The correct answer is sharecropping. We're going to have a tiebreaker match. The question is, what war did these acts all pass after?
Buzz, 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 buzz!
And your answer is?
The Civil War!
That is correct. Sojourner Truth is our winner for the day. Thanks for coming, guys, and
Because I'm white.
watch again. Adios. Wait, stop. Thank you, Mrs. Barton.